Good morning and welcome to, I don't know, it's afternoon. Good afternoon to Zen Fitz, broadcasting from Blackstone, Virginia, the center of the world. Did you watch The Crown? I love that show. We just finished it last night, and I was so happy that this series didn't include the death of Diana. Because you really got to like that character, and plus it brings back a lot of pain. That memory, it was kind of like JFK getting shot. This can't be happening, But anyway, so let's. I thought today we could melt The Crown down just a little bit. I love the logo at the beginning opening. I bypass it now that I've seen it many times. But it's a magnificent art of playing with the visuals and the different viewpoints of the crown, going in close. So you kind of like when you go in close on something, you kind of like penetrate its image. The image of everything is like over there and it's complete. But as you zoom into it, you begin to penetrate the image, and it becomes art. It becomes nameless. You penetrate the image, you get to the nameless. All the different aspects of the crown, if you went into all the smaller parts, you could name them too. All the way down to atoms and then protons, you can name them. You get into it, you see. But if you really penetrate deeply, you get through the name and the form. So we need to penetrate. So like the movie The Crown, the series, is we need to penetrate it in order to get to its meaning, its wider meaning that is more personal. See, The Crown, in first impression, is about the royal family, about England, It's about them. But then as you penetrate it, it's about you. So you are the crown, and the crown is you. If you can penetrate the image. See, the image creates a distance. I'm here, and the image is there. I'm here, and the movie's there. I'm here in the book. I'm here in the story. It's all there. Big space here. But when you penetrate the story, the crown, if you penetrate it, what do you find on the other side but you? You are the crown. So let's kind of like melt it down a little bit. And what is the essential contradiction in the crown, in the plot, in the story, that keeps weaving the series into new stories, but the contradiction stays the same. The twist stays the same, although the situations are different. So what is the contradiction? Well, it's a contradiction between duty and your nature. Duty and nature. These are universal. This is a universal contradiction. Duty to the shooting of JFK was a crack in this egg of duty and nature. It was your duty in the 60s to go fight in Vietnam. But if you listen to your nature, you said, no, I don't want to go. Not because I'm a coward, but because it's an illegal, immoral war. There was not a threat to national security. The Vietnamese weren't going to invade us. They're not like fighting Hitler and Tojo, you see. It was like an abstract war. It was not a real war, so I'm not going to go. And there we had a split between duty and nature. And that split goes on today. In our politics, there's a big split. In the Republican Party on the right, it's your duty to vote red, no matter what the policy's doing, no matter what the candidate. If it's Herschel Walker, you vote for Herschel Walker. It's your duty to vote red. Don't listen to your nature, which says the guy's an idiot. You see, you suppress your nature, and you go with duty. And that's what the crown's about. The queen suppresses nature, the nature of her family, for duty, for dharma, for duty, you see. So it's this constant conflict between duty and what my nature wants. What do I want? Which is always going to be contrary to duty. It starts out in the home, you know, with the child. Just constantly getting reminded what's right, what's his duty, and what he should suppress, don't touch that. The child's duty was to be curious. And you see it in the what? Watch this Thanksgiving. If you've got any kids, you'll see it going on. You know, the kid's nature is to be curious. The parent's nature is to make the kid obey the parents or duty or the rules. You know, so there's duty, which means obedience. So there's also this conflict starts in our own homes at childhood. It's everywhere if we look for the formula. It's kind of like E equals MC squared. You know, you can open the cosmos with that formula. And so you can open your life if you understand and see this contradiction in everything. Duty, obedience, belonging to the whole. We want to. This is an imperative, a commandment. We must belong to a higher order, to a family, to a group. We must to a system, to a philosophy, to a cause. See, it's terrifying to be alone totally. Nothing stands alone. Everything's in relationship. So we have to be in relationship with something greater than me. Otherwise, we have no meaning. So just everything, if you take any, Andy Warhol, his art was about that. If you take a soup can, Campbell's soup can doesn't mean anything unless it's standing on a shelf of soup cans. Unless it's related to a greater whole of soup, you see. So in other words, everything is related to a background that gives it meaning. Like the green screen, on TV with the weatherman. So the weatherman's standing there, and the green screen, the background changes. Movies do this, and it's everywhere. Everything is green screen. You have an object in the foreground, and you just keep changing the background, and the meaning of the foreground changes when its relationship with the background is changed. This is very obvious if you just know how to look. Is that nothing stands alone, so the meaning of anything has meaning because of its background, its context. Very complex. Oh, you took me out of context. You took my words out of the context and gave it a different meaning. We do this all the time, and we complain and bitch about it. So there's this fundamental need to belong, which is duty, obedience. So if you belong to a group, unless you are a church or a religion particularly, unless you are obedient to the rules of the group, you got to leave the group. So you can't be obedient and being a rebel at the same time. Yet, the other imperative, which is contradictory to the imperative to belong, is the will to be unique, which means separate, which means a unique individual. So we want to be a unique individual, but we want to belong. We want to belong, but I want to be a unique individual. So we're always coming up with strategies strategies in which we can do both at the same time. So the movie Crown is the Queen Elizabeth and her family coming up with strategies where the family members can have their cake and eat it too. They can belong to this is Prince Charles, his whole thing was coming up with and all the other family members were coming up ways where there could be unique and yet still be obedient to the family. To obey the commandments of duty and also the commandment to be unique. So it's always a strategy, it's always a work in progress to arrange, because we have to obey both of these commandments. You can't do one without the other. And yet they're incompatible. So this creates a creative life. This contradiction, this rub of duty and nature creates us. We're constantly recreating ourselves so that we can have our cake and eat it too. So if I want to rebel, I'm going to create a rebellious group. Then I can belong to that rebellious group and rebel against the parent group. So I can rebel and belong at the same time. But who goes alone? You see, now this is where Zen Buddhism comes in. Zen Buddhism goes beyond the external duty and nature and inquires into how I can be unique and follow my duty at the same time, separated from the crown, which is the external forces of duty. So this is what the Bodhisattva was. The Bodhisattva, which was the new role model for the seeker in Mahayana Buddhism, came into being around the time of Christ. The Bodhisattva replaced the Arhat, or the monk, who left society. So the Bodhisattva awakens in the world. He doesn't have to go to a monastery. He doesn't have to shave his head and wear monk clothes. He doesn't have to be a monk. He doesn't have to be different. He can be in the world, family, business. You can awaken from the contradiction between duty and nature as a bodhisattva. Now, a bodhisattva, there are two bodhisattvas, Avalokiteshvara, bodhisattva of compassion, or Kuan Yin, and there's the bodhisattva of wisdom, Manjushri, who wields a sword, the sword of wisdom. So these are two bodhisattvas. Now, the bodhisattva of compassion, what is the duty of the bodhisattva of compassion? So the bodhisattva of compassion, the duty of the bodhisattva is the demands of the situation. Not a group, not a religion, not a philosophy, not a movement, not a political party, but the situation. What are the demands of the situation you are in right now? If you rebel again, well, I don't like this situation. This is uncomfortable. I don't like the people here. I want to get to a better situation. Well, now you are following the rebellion, but you are denying the duty. So I'll be dutiful to another group. They'll like me. My people will be, I'll find my people. So that, so we're in constantly slicing or dividing the crown. We're dividing the duty from the nature in hopes that we'll get a better deal somewhere else, you see. But there is no other deal. This is it. The situation you're in is the only possible situation. So if you can't be respondent, and you can't be at ease, and you can't be in relationship to the situation you're in, you see, well, then you have divided the crown, and you create, we suffer, because we have denied the two imperatives that must be obeyed, but we can't as long as we're trying to obey them externally. Anyway, thanks for dropping in. Have a great Thanksgiving. Oops.